Hello, I hope everyone's well. It's Sunday the 12th maybe of April. I'm a couple of weeks later, probably 3 weeks later than I'd like to be, but today I'm going to be planting my seeds for my fruit and veg. They will eventually be going in the polytunnel. The polytunnel has not survived the windy weather. It didn't stand a chance. It didn't stand a chance, to be honest. It was never properly fastened at the front. I just couldn't get the help together to get that last side attached, sadly. And it's not something I can do on my own, unfortunately, because you need to have a couple of hands tensioning the plastic, and then you need to be able to attach the batten as well, that attaches it into the polytunnel. So there was just no way one person could do it that I could figure out anyway, unfortunately. So I have bought a new cover. I've got it here. I'm just waiting now to try and get the help together to get it on. I am very grateful for any help I receive. No one is under any obligation to come and do this. This is my responsibility. So I'm really grateful when I can get help. My friends have been great, but everyone has their own lives to lead. So I can't just expect people to be able to turn up when I need them. But I'm hopeful we'll get it done sometime in the next month or two. And then this will be a fully functioning polytunnel. I do also have the ground cover to go on here, the weed mesh. That I can do myself. So all I need to do, I know it looks like absolute chaos in here. Most of it is cardboard and sheeting that I've used to just try and kill off some of the grass that's in here before I put the weed mesh down. I will have to trim in here first before I put the weed mesh down. Most of it's just cardboard, and I'll either take that and recycle it or burn it, depending on how the weather is. I'm not going to burn it on a day like today when it's so windy. Don't want to be responsible for setting fire to someone else's stuff with many ash coming off, new embers coming off the fire. Yeah, and then there's just a couple of bits to go in the barn that are too heavy for me to lift on my own. So again, I'll get a hand with that. It is the problem with trying to do something like this on your own. There are just some jobs you just can't do yourself. And then you're fairly reliant on either paying someone to come and help you or having friends come and help you. I have used both of those methods, but I'm hoping, since it's just moving a few heavy bits that are easily a two-man lift, I'm hoping I can get someone over to come and give me a hand with that, and we're good to go. So, planting my seeds. I'm looking to grow a significant amount of fruit and veg in the polytunnel. I am also planning to get some outdoor beds going as well. I will need to rent a rotavator for that, I think, just to break up the soil, because I'm on heavy red clay here. So I don't know how much I'll be able to grow outside. I don't know how much I can modify the soil, or how well I can modify the soil. But I'm hoping to at least get some brassicas out there, so some cauliflowers and cabbages and broccoli, that sort of stuff. The hardier plants. I will start them, but I grow from seed generally. I find it quite satisfying, and obviously it's cheaper than buying ready started plants. I'm not a massively obsessed with being organic person. It would be nice, but I have to work to within my budget. I think we are getting to a point now where growing your own fruit and veg is actually as cost effective as buying it, if not slightly more cost effective. That never used to be the case. It used to be it costs pretty much the same as buying your fruit and veg. You just had the satisfaction of growing your own, but now I think there is actually a financial benefit to doing it as well. So yeah, and hopefully I definitely will. If everything I plant grows, then I will definitely have a lot of excess as well. That'll be shared between the birds. Obviously the poultry can have kale and spinach and stuff like that, and some broccoli. They do like playing with broccoli. If I hang some florets up, they will spend quite a lot of time just jumping, trying to get the broccoli off there. But yeah, I'm growing quite a mix of stuff. I'm going to see what grows here. My plan, I have a load of raised beds in boxes at the back there behind the table saw. I'm going to get them built once I've got the liner down on the floor. I have a huge mountain of soil which is there from when the barn foundations were dug, so I'm going to use that to fill up at least half of the raised beds, and then I will complete it with probably some sand, because it's clay soil going in the bottom, so I'll probably get some sharp sand in there just to try and break that up a bit as it goes. I've got a reasonable amount of chicken poo now. It's not compost yet. It hasn't rotted down enough yet to be compost, but it can certainly go in the lower levels on the polytunnel, and then it can just carry on breaking in the bed, and it can just keep breaking down in the bed, and it will eventually become feed for the soil, and it won't be close enough to the roots of any of the plants to cause a massive problem there. I also have a lot of ash from my log burner. I always save the ash because it's great for your soil and great for growing fruit and veg, so that will also go in. It'll probably go some of the clay soil, some of the chicken waste, some more clay soil, the ash from the fire. Then we'll start getting into porting compost. So there will be several inches of porting compost. It's not just going to be a little top layer, and I'm hoping that will give me really good crops. We shall see. I am learning. I've not had this before, so yeah, I'm just learning really as I go. For my seeds, I mix my own potting compost really well, in as much as I buy a seed compost. I generally buy whatever is on offer. I think this year it was Miracle Grow seed and young plant compost. It's quite a nice fine compost. I then mix in some vermiculite and some perlite. These are both useful additives to young plants and seedlings. Between them, they soak up a lot of water and keep the moisture content of the soil fairly consistent and keep it moist for longer, and they also break down the soil, so they make it easier for the roots to grow, and keep the soil aerated, which is very good for the roots also. So yeah, my mix here, this is 2 20-litre bags of compost, and then half a bag of the vermiculite and half a bag of perlite. So 5 litres of perlite and 5 litres of vermiculite in here, and it makes quite a nice compost mix. I have just added some water because this has been sat out for a couple of days, because I mixed it up and then ran out of time to actually make up the seedlings. I have added some water. I probably need to add some more. I use a soil block maker for my plants rather than filling loads of individual cells. I just buy trays, just these simple seed trays. They usually comes in packs of 5 and 10. I do reuse them. I certainly don't buy them every year. I get these, and then I also get gravel trays to go with them. You can make holes in these trays quite easily and make them into seed trays, but I quite like having these, and then I tend to fill these with some water and sit the planted seeds in there. It just means there's a steady moisture content. You don't want it to be flooding into the seed tray, but you just want enough in there that there's a bit of moisture wicking into the compost, just to keep your plants watered. My soil block maker was from Amazon. It was quite cheap and cheerful. They're quite heavy. It comes with various attachments to put in the bottom. So basically you fill each of these compartments with soil, and then it makes a little dip in it for you. I just use the square holes, but you can also have round, I'm not showing this very well, am I? Round holes, excuse me, of various sizes. But yeah, I just use the squares. It's simple. You can buy different sizes of these blocks that fit in together, so you can get one of these blocks that is much smaller, and then what happens is the insert of these black inserts, they come the size of that previous soil block you made, and so then in theory your smaller seed block will when it's fertilised, will then just go in and sit into one of the larger blocks, and you can just keep going from there. I don't bother with that, but the time they're I just put them into the big blocks, and then they go into the soil once they're done. They're occasionally I pot on into just normal small flower pots for some of the plants, such as maybe peppers and tomatoes, but mostly they just go into the ground from when they've been in these seed blocks. In an ideal world, obviously the polytunnel would be all done and the seedlings could just sit in here, but that's not the case. That's not happening this year. It'll be far too late to plant seeds by the time I've got the cover on. So I've invested in a second miniature greenhouse. You can get these anywhere. They're relatively cheap. This was on offer, so I think I paid 30 something pounds for it. I already have one. I had it when I had the mobile home on the mobile home park. They're very simple to put together, lightweight. They hold about 32 trays of seeds, which should be enough. I will do some successional planting, but that'll be enough just to get started. My initial plan was to put them in here and somehow tie them to these rests for a bench, but it's just been too windy. I think they'll just fall over, and if you've got seeds that haven't even started sprouting yet and your greenhouse falls over, then you've just wasted hundreds of seeds, because you're never going to know which is which, and it's just going to be a mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the soil blocks out here, because that's a messy job. Then I'm going to take all of the seed trays to my house. I'm going to clear a space in the office or third bedroom on my mobile home. It's where I had the chicks last year. It's going to become a greenhouse this year. Yeah, I'm going to put them in there for a few weeks until they've started germinating properly, until I've got plants that can come out here and be relatively safe. They will be slightly covered in here. I'll probably have a cloche over them or something as well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, see how the weather goes. It's actually becoming quite hot the last couple of weeks, on and off, so looks like we might be going to have a hot spring, which will be nice, as long as it's not too dry. Can't get it right, can we? It's never quite right. So yeah, that's the plan. So to make your soil blocks with your soil block maker, I believe what you're supposed to be able to do is just wedge this into the soil, lift it up, and it comes out full. I've never mastered that, as you can see. But obviously it's a two-handed job, and I'm trying to hold the phone with one hand. All you can do is just fill it up with soil. Obviously this is a lot quicker when you've got two hands. I just like to press it down, make sure it's properly filled. As you can see, there's quite a lot of space if you just fill it at once. Your soil does need to be relatively wet, not too wet or you'll never get it back out the mould. But it needs to be wet enough to be able to hold its shape. So once you've pushed that all in, also if it's too wet it'll be too heavy and it'll just drop out when you go to put it in the tray. And it just goes in the tray, push down to make the indents, and there you go, that's your soil blocks. Obviously it takes half the time when you're doing it with two hands. But yeah, these do the job really well. They're a good size block. I now need to get on and fill 32 trays with these soil blocks. They will hold 3 rows of these soil blocks in them. So yeah, I'm going to get on and do that, and then come back and join me once I've got them back inside. It is always very important to have your Rottweiler lie in the most awkward place between you and your seed trays. Yeah, it just makes the plants grow quicker or something, so he tells me. You're all right, mate. Yeah, thank you. So it's a couple of days later, because I got stuck with other jobs, but I did finish making all of my soil cells. I've got trays of them here ready to plant. There's no high-tech skill to planting. I'm making sure I'm only planting stuff I want to eat or preserve. I am learning about canning. I'm no expert by a long shot, but it seems a shame to put all the effort into growing this produce and then not being able to either sell or preserve what I managed to grow here. I am potentially scappering myself a little bit. These seeds are a couple of years old, but I've never had a problem with using older seeds before, so we'll see how they go. These are just climbing French beans. I've also planted some purple climbing French beans. I do actually prefer the purple ones, not for taste or anything. They turn green when you cook them, so it's not looks or taste. It just makes them easier to find when you've got a lot of plants growing, especially a lot of climbing plants. So I've planted runner beans as well. So yeah, I'll have a lot of vines running up, and it just makes them easier to spot amongst all the foliage if they're a different colour. So that's why I grow the purple ones, and that's why I like them better. They're just easier to find on the plant. I'm only planting 12 of each of these beans, so 12 of the green French beans, 12 of the purple French beans, 12 runner beans. I probably only want about 10 plants of each, and that's going to produce way more food than I can eat anyway. So that's why I'm going for that. The likelihood is that a couple of them won't germinate. I might get all of them, if so that's fine, I've got space for them. Don't have any secrets to planting seeds. I just take the seed and whack it in the soil and then pinch the soil in around it. Does it count as ASMR if the polytunnel's making loads of noise? There are some things it's important you plant the right way up, but with the majority of seeds and stuff, Mother Nature doesn't blow seeds off a plant and whack them into the ground, land them on the ground in any particular way up. Plants aren't stupid, they can generally figure it out for themselves. The roots will grow down and the plant will grow up, and yeah, it's not generally a problem. I have the writing less neat than a school kid really, but then I label my plants. I just put what the plant is or what the seed is, what variety it is, and then how many I planted, because then that just lets me know where the break is between each different plant, especially if you're planting similar items. So I've just planted some runner beans and French beans in the same pot here, so if I know there's 12 cells of each, it just means that I know which is which really. And that's it. I just keep planting seeds that I fancy planting until I've filled all the cells, and labelled them all up. Then I'll get them into the greenhouses. With things like tomato seeds, they're quite hard to distinguish from the vermiculite and perlite. I will put a couple of seeds in per cell. They're quite easy to split if they sprout. Sometimes there's 3 seeds. I've never had a problem. I know some people like to just put 1 seed per, whatever we call these, soil block, I don't know. But cells, there we go, that's what I was looking for. But I'm just not that fussy. As I say, I've never had problems splitting them, and if one... Enough! Sorry, the neighbours are in, so the dog's just telling them off for some reason. I don't have a look. What I am planting into separate pots is jalapenos and other chili peppers, plus some sweet peppers. These will stay in tubs, the peppers. I'm going to have this bench here. I'm not going to make a bench that takes down easily and goes back up again. It will be removable, but I kind of want it here permanently really, and it makes sense to grow a shrubby type bushy plant that can go into a large tub. So I've got a load of smithy tubs somewhere. Yeah, I've got all these tubs here. All these pots were lined up, obviously got blown over by the wind. So I've got all these smithy tubs here. They're a good size for a pepper plant. And I've got all these grey tubs as well, which will probably be a good size for the chilies really, because these are slightly smaller. So yeah, we'll have some bell peppers, sweet peppers and some chili peppers growing. How much use I'll get from the chili peppers, I don't know. Mad keen on really spicy food, But then again, I do like things like sweet chili sauce and stuff like that, so I'll be able to make those sort of items for myself. And obviously I can give away and sell what I don't use. I can also dry them and make chili flakes and chili pepper and powder and stuff like that. So there are lots of uses for them. The ultimate dream would one day to be have a freeze dryer. I would really like that. I would really like that sort of sense of food security for myself and, you know, the people I know and family and friends and the like. I do worry about the situation in the world at the moment, I'm not gonna lie, and the cost of things just keep going up. So yeah, I would like that sort of security, if I'm honest, but it's just me, so I don't need tons and tons of stuff here. Just enough to keep me going, and my family and friends, yeah, that'd be nice. But spending £5,000 on a freeze dryer is certainly not something that's on the menu at the moment, sadly, as much as I would like to. So yeah, we'll carry on as we are, and we're going to get into canning, as I say. One of my favourite plants to grow is courgettes. I like them. I like the vegetable as it is. I think there's a lot of uses for it. But realistically, 3 plants would be more than enough to keep me going all summer. They're quite prolific producers. However, I have planted about 16. I've used 3 different varieties. I've gone for the lemona or lemona, the yellow courgette. I've also gone for Firenze or Firenze, which I didn't have much luck with year before last, which is when I last planted. They didn't seem to, seeds didn't seem to come to anything. They seemed to rot before they grew. So yeah, I've tried again. We'll see how they go. And then I am planting some one ball as well, which are like little globe courgettes. Now these are an F1 seed. I very rarely use F1 seeds. I prefer to use more heritage breeds because then I can collect my own seed. If you collect your seed from an F1 variety, who knows what you'll get. It likely won't fruit. It certainly won't be as prolific as the original seeds you planted. F1 seeds aren't really there to be collected and reseeded. They're just a one-off use. So I prefer to use more heritage varieties so that I can collect the seed myself, because seeds can be expensive. You know, I generally buy them in sales and stuff like that throughout the year. I'm not really one to just only buy in the spring when everyone's buying seeds and they're at their most expensive. You'll often see on sites like Thompson and Morgan in the UK and Marshall's. They're both very good for seeds, and they often do sales sort of in off-season times. So it's worth stocking up then if you can. It will save you quite a lot of money because, yeah, it's only a couple of pounds, £3 for a pack of seeds, but by the time you're buying 40 or 50 different packs, and that does make quite a big dent in your wallet. However, I thought it'd be fun to try these. I think they'd be very tasty roasted in the oven. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. They're just for fun, really. Also, why I'm planting so many more courgettes than I could ever possibly eat or give away or sell. I'm interested in making some courgette flour. I've been reading about it. The Amish use it a lot. You basically just have to dry them and grind them and dry them again, really, to make them into flour, like consistency. And then you can apparently use, how do I say this? So with any recipe where you have flour, you can use you can replace a third of the flour required for any recipe with courgette flour. So I'm quite interested in that. I do make bread. I haven't made much in the last year or so. It tended to be more of a winter thing for me. And in winter I don't have enough power here to cook bread and prove it. It's the proving that's the problem. Once I've got some more effective heating in the mobile home, then maybe I'll be able to just prove my bread on the side. But it's generally about 8 or 9 degrees in there in the winter, even with the log burner going. So I would need to have the oven running at a very low temperature just to prove the bread, let alone to cook it. And I just don't have the power supplies, the power stores for that at the moment. In the future, when maybe I've got another battery and I have a bit more stored each night, I'll be able to go back to making bread in the winter. Equally in the summer, it's very hot in the mobile home. It can be sort of 30, 33 degrees in there. even with the fan going. So the last thing I want to do then is have the oven running to prove bread, or at least to cook it. I guess it could prove on the side at that point. But yeah, so my bread making has kind of dropped off a bit, but I would like to start again, and I'd like to see how it works with the courgette flour in there. So because obviously it's a cheap resource really. You plant a courgette plant, you get many courgettes from it, so why not save the money if you can. Another thing I'm planting just for fun is some Atlantic giant pumpkins. I suspect these will not be particularly tasty pumpkins. I just want to see how big it grows really, and it should be ready for Halloween. There's no point making this hard work. If you want to do something, if you want to try a plant out, you want to try a vegetable out, even if you're probably not going to eat it, the chickens will eat this, you know, so it's not going to go to waste. Do it, have fun with it. There's no rules about what you plant in your own garden. Well, there probably are, but no rules that matter what seeds you plant when it comes to fruit and veg. You know, just enjoy it. Now, one vegetable I have a very difficult relationship with is peas, garden peas. Love mange too, love growing them, no problems there. Same with sugar snap peas, no problem there. Actual garden peas that you have to shell. I am planting some. I'm going to do 8 cells with 2 in each. Whilst peas are one of my favourite vegetables to eat, they are my least favourite vegetable to shell. Also, I have never yet had a crop without the caterpillars getting to the peas before I do. Yeah, if there's any tips out there for that, I'd be very grateful, because I really struggle with garden peas. I don't know why. Don't have the same problem with my mange too. Don't have the same problem with my sugar snap peas, but there's some caterpillar that gets into my garden peas each and every time, and just, yeah, lives in the pods until I shuck the peas, and then eats half the peas whilst they're in the pod. But yeah, I'll try again and we'll see. I don't expect my success rate will be any higher now I live in the middle of the countryside. When it comes to your main crop type of plants like onions, leeks, carrots, the seeds are cheap. The seeds are small. They're tiny. Yes, with onions and peppers, it's worth taking the time to plant individual seeds, but when it comes to these sort of crops, those seeds are more expensive. When it comes to these sort of crops, just bung a few in each cell. It's not going to hurt. You can always thin them out, or you can separate them. It's very straightforward. And I literally plant them like so. There are probably 5 or 6 seeds going into each cell, and that's absolutely fine. There are only really 2 vegetables that I don't enjoy. Beating them would be a punishment, not a pleasure for me, and that's celery and fennel. Yeah, even as an adult I still can't enjoy them. I'm not growing fennel. I have got some fennel seeds, but I'm just not doing it because it would just be wasted. You just taste it in your nose. I don't like it at all. However, I am planting some celery. I would say under sufferance, but it's my choice. But at least celery can be put into stews and stuff and disguised a bit better than fennel can. There's no escaping the taste of fennel, I find, in food. But yeah, it also dries well. You can make celery salt and stuff like that from it. So I am going to plant a few celeries. They're quite prolific as well. Also, my mum very much likes celery and she eats a lot of it. She has it most days for lunch with other stuff. So if nothing else, I can give it to her. But yeah, that's the only vegetable I think I'm planting under sufferance. The rest I will enjoy. So yeah, decisions you make. On the bright side, because I dislike it so much, I can guarantee every single one of the seeds that I've just planted will take, and because the seeds are so small, I've probably planted about 50 plants. So yeah, we'll see. And there we have it. That's half the veg for the year planted. I'll see how these get on, give them a couple of weeks. If they look like they're germinating well, then I'll plant up another same number of trays. And then that'll be the greenhouse full, hopefully. So it's a few days later again. The seeds trays have all been inside the house, but they're a pain there. So I've decided to do this. I've put the little plastic greenhouse inside the polytunnel. I have cable tied it. If you've ever owned a classic car and or had chickens, then cable ties is something that you will never be short of in your household. So I've cable tied it to the polytunnel and put this plank across, wedged underneath the pots, and put it across the stands for a bench in the polytunnel. So I'm hoping it will stay upright. These are the trays. I filled them with water. It's not very straight, as you can see, so I'm just going to even it out with some cardboard underneath the legs this side. Try and get them flat, and then we'll start moving the seed trays into the greenhouse. And hopefully it won't fall over in the wind. Yeah, there we go. I think I gave myself a hernia doing that, but the cardboard's lifted it enough that the trays are just nice and flat, so the water's evenly spread, give or take, throughout the trays. So now I'm just going to put the seeds in here. I am going to close up the door. It's quite a nice sunny day, but I want to get some heat in there today to see it overnight, and then if it's hot again tomorrow, then I will obviously open the door again. I've already got a few little shoots coming through, and this is only 4 days in maybe on a couple of the trays. Now I don't know if these are actually what I've planted. This should be courgettes, so I'd be relatively surprised if that was a courgette already. These are runner beans, so this is more likely possible to be a runner bean. Can't see any other trays yet. We'll see, I'll keep you posted. Now there are some little shoots coming up in this one, just there and up there. This is broccoli. I think they are likely to be broccoli shoots. As I say, with these ones up here, yeah, I don't know if that's a runner bean, and I'll be very surprised if that's a courgette. But we'll see. I end up coming out and looking at these every day now because I want to see what's growing. Always put your favourite stuff at the top because it's a pain to get down to the bottom ones to check on them. Now these little ones are tumbling tom tomatoes, and I think that is them. I'll be very pleased if it is. I do like some cherry tomatoes. It is always fascinating. Oh, some gardener's delight coming up as well. How quickly these things start to sprout. Yeah, there's lots of broccoli coming up. Good news. And there we are, all outside. Quick rundown of what I've planted. So I've done some moneymaker tomatoes, some Roma tomatoes, they're like paste tomatoes. Mange tout, sugar snap peas, a couple of different varieties. They're the purple French beans, runner beans, yellow courgettes, green courgettes, some butternut squash, some cargo pumpkins, some cucumbers, some cauliflower, broccoli, some celery, some more cherry tomatoes, but they're sort of like a browny purple cherry tomato, the tumbling toms, some gardener's delight, various pumpkins, some spaghetti squash. They're supposed to be very good for storage. We shall see. I've planted some marrow this year. I really like the taste of marrow. I hate the smell of it cooking. So yeah, we'll see where we go with that. The Atlantic giant pumpkins, so those enormous pumpkins. We'll see how we go with that. I may not be able to get enough water. Some of those globe courgettes. And the yellow ones as well. God, my knees. Some more French beans, some broad beans. Got some parsnips in. Some aubergine. Ideally, usually I'd plant things like parsnips, leeks and carrots directly into the ground. I wouldn't bother starting them off in soil blocks, but we are where we are this year. We'll give it a go. Some aubergine, some Swiss chard. I have done some sweet corn. I have a difficult relationship with sweet corn. I like it, but I do just feel like it takes up a lot of space for not all that much produce. some white onions, some red onions. I started them from seed. They can be easier to grow from sets, to be honest, but we'll see. Some beef tomatoes, some peas, some more mange too, carrots. Those are just Chantenay reds. I find them better in soil blocks than normal carrots. Some Brussels sprouts, get them started. Some cavolo nero. Some kale. Don't know what that is. Oh, cabbage. That's white cabbage. That's another white cabbage. And then we're down to the last ones. Got a red cabbage. Some leeks. And some more leeks. So yeah. That is the door to my polytunnel creaking. We'll see how we all go. There's quite a few sprouting actually, I'm surprised. So yeah, it is satisfying growing your own. And I know I've done it over several days, but it's probably only been a couple of hours work to put all this lot in. I've spent more time moving blooming trays backwards and forwards from the house to here than I have planting. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Now I just need to remember to open and close the greenhouse. I have been known to forget, so we'll see how we get on with that. Yeah, and I'm quite sure editing this video is going to take a whole lot longer than any of this did planting it. I hope it's helpful to someone. It's certainly no rocket science, but yeah, let's see how we go. Take care, guys. So I just popped back inside to do some well, to have some lunch and to quickly start editing this video, and I realised that I didn't mention all the plants that I haven't planted that you would expect me to be planting. So I haven't planted any lettuce, I haven't planted any herbs, I haven't planted any beetroot or radishes or spring onions or anything like that. The reason for that is, or spinach, the reason for that is that they grow relatively quickly. So I can plant them much later in the year and still get a decent crop from them. So there's no need to rush and try and grow them in trays and stuff now, when space is somewhat limited in those small greenhouses that I've got. I'd rather use that for successional planting in these colder months, and then once it's slightly warmer I can start worrying about getting those things in once I've actually got the beds to plant them on into as well. So yeah, that's why I've only done what I've done now. There will be a lot more sort of salad greens and stuff like that coming. I just haven't done it yet. Okay, take care, guys.